Okay, let me get to the headlines this morning.
Okay.
As CEO of ExxonMobil, Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, received the Order of Friendship from Russian President Vladimir Putin.
So this reunion is going to be really great.
That was in 2013.
Like Order of Friendship, it's kind of like a victory lap.
Got
Hey, buddy,
connections.
what's up? They'll get a hug.
When Tillerson visits Moscow
it's
later
kind of like,
today,
as Alex just said, it's like Peaches and Herb reunited, and it feels so good.
So Tillerson
Right?
is going to Moscow
I can't
today.
believe you know Peaches and Herb sang that song.
He's not even going to get a handshake.
What?
Reuters reports that Tillerson and Putin will not meet after the Kremlin was angered by the U.S. missile strikes that targeted a base also used by Russian troops.
Ding, 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 ding. I've got the answer.
What's that?
What is Kabuki Theater, Alex? Come on, Mark Halperin. This is all a setup.
They don't. So
first of all, Rex doesn't want to be seen shaking Vlad's hand. Vlad doesn't want to be seen shaking the Americans' hand, but they're pulling away from Assad as we speak. So this is all, I mean, it's a pretty smart PR stunt for both sides. I mean, if you're Rex Tillerson, do you want a picture on the front page of the New York Times of you shaking your Order of Friendship buddy's hand? No. This works out well for everybody.
This is an incredible moment in the history of Donald Trump's relationship with Russia, right? Like, you couldn't have scripted it this way. His Secretary of State's going. This is as much, obviously going to be much different than it would have been 10 days ago.
Right.
And I don't know that it's pure kabuki. From listening to the way the administration is talking about Russia now, they're kind of going all in on a 180 of, we're not friends with Russia, we're not going to be friends with Russia.
Which is great for the administration.
Yeah.
A week ago, you have little Devin Nunes going back and forth, going, hey, what do I say? What do I say about Russia? What do I say about Russia? And Sean Spicer getting killed. Now the Russians snub Tillerson? I mean, if I'm Donald Trump, I'm thinking these are good days.
But I think it's going to be hard to reverse.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Wait,
what's going to be hard to reverse?
I don't think the U.S. is now on a path to détente with Russia.
Well, we can't right now. There's not the space because there are investigations about Russia going on all over Capitol Hill. You think Donald Trump's going to go over to the Kremlin and, you know, do a big thumbs up with a Big Mac with Vlad? He can't do that
No
now.
time soon.
Well, especially right now after this AP report, which we haven't confirmed yet, and the White House says isn't true, that Russia knew about the chemical attacks before they were carried out and provided some cover for them. You can't be on the front page of the paper. If you're condemning that as the reason you went into Syria as the United States government, you can't be shaking his hand.
And, Mike, if that's the case, we don't want to shake their hands.
Right.
Like, if Russia knew about the chemical weapons, we don't want to shake their hands. And now you watch Putin. This is just not worth it for Vladimir Putin. Now Putin starts stepping away from Syria because it's for what he wants. This is doing just the opposite. For basically a glorified gas station. He doesn't need this. He went into Syria because it was a cheap, easy PR win. It's not worth it anymore.
Right, and a warm weather port for the Russian Navy, which is critical to them. But clearly, the Syrians, and Assad especially, have really embarrassed Russia, put Putin in a tough place. Russia overplayed his hand unwittingly with the WikiLeaks stuff last year. Now they can't get anything from the
Now they can't get anything, right.
And I agree with Mark. I think this is frozen for quite a while.
Yeah.
And that is in everybody's best interest. It's certainly this administration's best interest.
Well, but Putin would like sanctions relief.
Well, he's not going to get that.
He's going to get more sanctions.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to Moscow.
Even if Donald Trump tried to get sanctions relief, John McCain and the Senate has already said they will codify those sanctions. So nothing's going to move anyway. It's just an embarrassment for Russia. And again, I don't see how they don't step away from Syria at the end.
Let's go right to the ground, live from Moscow. NBC News Chief Global Correspondent Bill Neely. Bill, good morning. Boy, this was already a rife meeting before the events, the airstrikes last week in Syria, given all that happened during the campaign and the investigation to Donald Trump's campaign and Russia. But what does it look like today?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Lots to talk about. And just on that possibility of a Putin-Tillerson meeting, the Kremlin is still saying President Putin has no plans. It's not on the agenda. And one line just to bring you up to date with the Russian Foreign Ministry this morning saying Russian-US relations are the most difficult since the end of the Cold War. Now, presumably that includes the first 2.5 months of Donald Trump's presidency. We are hoping for productive talks. So they're looking this morning at the G7 meeting, looking for any signs of a clear message from the G7, just as they've been looking for a clear message from Washington over the last couple of days. But both in Washington and in Italy, they've been getting mixed messages. What exactly is the US strategy? Under what circumstances would the US take action in Syria again? And the same thing from the G7 summit. One statement of note, I think, when there was the conversation on the phone between Donald Trump and the British Prime Minister, Theresa May, and she talked about this being a window of opportunity to put pressure on Putin to get rid of Assad. Boris Johnson, the British Foreign Secretary, saying that Putin was toxifying the reputation of Russia by clinging on to Assad. So I think that will be the message Rex Tillerson will bring, a demand to drop Assad. But you know, guys, it comes at the very moment when Russia is doubling down on Assad. Last week they said, we will strengthen your air defenses after the missile strike. And it's also at the very moment when Assad is winning this war. He took Aleppo. He now has control of all of the major cities. So the question, I suppose, for Rex Tillerson, for the US, for the West is, why would Vladimir Putin give up on Assad right now? Guys?
Fascinating. NBC's Bill Neely live in Moscow. Bill, thanks so much.
Well, you know, part of the answer to that is, first of all, the G7 is going to come out, and I'm sure they're going to be united against the attack. Secondly, as David Ignatius said on Friday, we're now starting to squeeze Syria in the east. So the best Assad's going to have is a divided Syria at the end. And also, just one final thought, Mika. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, gee, if Russia knew ahead of time and trying to figure out exactly what was going on with this attack. Vladimir Putin, as Richard Haas and everybody else has always said, Russian foreign policy since Christmas Day 1991 has all been about resentment. Resentment of losing the Cold War. So you go into Crimea, you go into Georgia, you go into these places where you know you're not going to face a show of force. Imagine how humiliating it is for Vladimir Putin to have his troops in Syria and have the United States basically say, we don't care if you're in Syria or not. You can't do anything about this. In fact, we're going to tell you, we're going to strike your client state, and you're going to do nothing about it. If you want to get your people out of the way, that's fine. If you don't, we're going to kill them. And so why does he stay there when he knows he's got a guy like Assad? This is not China and North Korea. We can't strike North Korea. We just can't. But we sure as hell have shown Putin we can strike Syria even when their warplanes are there. Do you know how embarrassing that is for Vladimir Putin when he's trying to project strength? I've got this big gas station, and I'm in Syria too. Well, yeah, great. Well, you can't even protect your client in Syria. Embarrassing.
Things just got a lot more complicated for him.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.